Hello everyone, welcome to the Christel Crawford Show, weekly episode number 27 in season 3. I am Christel. For those of you guys that don't know me, I'm an Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator, and on this weekly show, I take a topic and I weave in and around Access Consciousness tools, how you can use them with your life, how you can use them to start just being happier, freer, richer, having more sex, whatever the hell you want to have with your life. So if you're new to the show, welcome. If you're new to Access Consciousness, Google it immediately. If I've seen you before, hi. And I called this week's episode, Rightness, the Fight That Never Ends. Now, I do this show live every week. I send out an email every week. And there's some shows, hi Aishagul, that I know aren't going to be that well attended. And this is going to be probably one of those, but I'm hopeful that you guys will prove me wrong. Hi Bobby John, hi Fatma. So Rightness, the Fight That Never Ends. Okay, so for those of you guys that are new to me, or even those of you who just sort of watch the show and don't necessarily get a little more involved, you may know that I have a free Facebook group called the Awareness Challenge. And in that group, we take one Access Consciousness tool, one clearing, and we use the shit out of it 30 times a day for 30 days. Now, that idea came from Gary Douglas, who's the founder of Access. And I found one of them that he mentions in a book called Right Riches for You. And he's like, hey, use this clearing 30 times a day for 30 days and watch what changes in your life. Well, that clearing, I just made it into a thing. I called it the Awareness Challenge. You can go to theawarennesschallenge.com and download it. But a group of us started using that 30 times a day for 30 days and it started changing everything. Okay, well, out of that came the Advanced Awareness Challenge, where now I go live every day on Facebook and I lead us through the latest challenge, okay? So I say all that to say, that's $20 a month, by the way. If any of you are not in the Advanced Awareness Challenge, I highly recommend it. If you're very bad at showing up for yourself and you need some sort of structure, that group is a gift. I say that to say that this month's challenge, this month's clearing goes like this. It's very weird beginning. What jails am I using? What judgments, agendas, inventions, lies, and secrets am I using to create the dominance of E equals MC squared, which is evil equals mediocrity and corruption squared. So that's weird, fine. To as always having to be all right or all wrong as the only choice in life and living. Hi Suzanne, nice to see you too. Hi Brigitte, hi Cecilia. That keeps me from choosing a totally different reality with no conclusions than anyone else can have. And then you just end it with the clearing statement, and everything that is times a gazillion, destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pot, online, shorts, boys and girls. So if you guys want that clearing and you want to go through it 30 times a day for 30 days, just go to my website, find the Advanced Awareness Challenge and get yourself in there. But that clearing, what it's been doing for the 60 of us that are going through it every single day is pretty phenomenal. And one of the things that's been showing up in my life which is where this show topic got started from, has been me being able to see or be aware of everywhere where I still do fight. And the thing about needing to be right about something, and it doesn't really matter what that thing is you then have to fight to hold on to it, right? If you need to be right about something, you've got to fight about it. Now, the thing about rightness is that it's very insidious. There's some situations, like for me, especially like where it's very obvious I'm trying to be right. If I'm trying to be right about a point or I have no idea, a way of writing an email or whatever. Those are obvious, right? Like if you're getting into an argument about how you make pot roast and you're like, no, this is how you make pot roast, and no, this is how I make pot roast. Like that's an obvious thing of like trying to get it right. But there's other things that are not as obvious. And the way you know you're trying to be right is that there's a fight there. If there's no right and no wrong, there's no fight. There's no fight. There's nothing to fight for or against. If you don't have to fight against being wrong, and you don't have to fight to be right, and all you have in the middle is choice, then there's no fight. So the symptom of needing to be right, one of the symptoms of needing to be right is the fight. And that's really where this got created. I was having a interaction with my new partner, and he's amazing, and And every once in a while, we have these ways of functioning or doing things that just like rub each other wrong, right? And so we were having another one of those moments where he was trying to do his thing and I was just getting madder and madder in this particular moment. And I finally just was, he started getting weird because I'm getting mad and I'm like, I'm still getting mad. And he's like backing up and he's like, well, I just want to talk to you about this or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but you always do this thing and da 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 da. And I just like came after him as if he was trying to slit my throat. He wasn't. He wasn't. In fact, it was so obvious after the fact that I had reacted to a thing that wasn't actually the thing. And because I've been doing this clearing, and that's the gift of doing the one clearing over and 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 over, is it does this shaving off of unconsciousness around a topic, like to where you cannot not see where you're functioning from after a while. So I'm sitting there in my reaction, and he has since sort of exited the conversation, and he's like over in the kitchen somewhere else, poor guy. And I'm sitting there with so much awareness of what I just chose, realizing that that's not what I want to create. Like, that's not what I want to create. Like, you know, okay, so I was right that this dynamic occurs. I was right, and I was right that he does it. That was the only thing I was right about. And being right about it hadn't created anything. It had created distance and separation and discord instead of more ease. And it was one of the first times that I could really very, very clearly see that, like, in the moment. And so I like put all my barriers down, and this is one of the tools with rightness that's such a huge contribution, is being willing to be wrong and being willing to just go put all your barriers down and go, I'm so sorry, that's not what I wanted to create. And I said, and so I just got vulnerable with him after that, and I was like, there's still this certain place in me that when anybody gets near it or does a certain thing or I don't understand something, that I still just react. And so that's another clue of the need to be right in that area, or the need to protect, or the need to be safe. All of those needs are your secret hidden desires to be right. Because here, let's actually give all of us some more awareness about this. So one of the things we talk about in Access Consciousness is that we are all infinite beings. Well, how do you know if you're an infinite being, right? Well, first of all, you can close your eyes and you can go outside your body and try to find the outside edges of you. And just keep going until you can find an edge. And you may notice that you don't have any edges. And so the thing about being an infinite being, and one of the first keys to total freedom, there's a book called The 10 Keys to Total Freedom. There's a telecall on the same topic. It's one of those things that's required when you become a certified facilitator, which is what I am. It's a game-changing book. Why? Because let's just take the first key to total freedom. So you want to get your awareness on this and not something like cognitive and logical, but actually just get awareness. Would an infinite being require any protection? Yes or no? I always get no when I ask that. Infinite beings don't require protection. They're just infinite beings. They be. If an infinite being is total awareness, does total awareness require protection? No, because you're totally aware. Now, do we function as infinite beings most of the time? No, that would be a no, Bob. A lot of the time we're functioning as finite beings with finite limitations, right, from wherever we're functioning from. So an infinite being doesn't require protection. And so that's what I noticed in that particular moment, was like, I was not functioning like an infinite being. I was functioning like a finite being that could die within a second. And I was also functioning like this person over here intended to destroy me. Was any of that true? No. So I'm breaking that one little situation apart to sort of show you like the inner workings of what goes on from my point of view. Hey, when I'm looking and unraveling a topic for myself. And one of the things I've been really asking myself about this rightness thing is, well, one, I've been doing the awareness challenge, which I highly recommend. But two, I've been going like, who or what am I fighting for or against? Who am I fighting for? Like fighting for or against. That if I didn't fight for or against them would give me all of me. and everything that is times a godzillion, destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, all shorts, boys, men's, hi, Idalina. And you can find out more about the clearing statement at theclearingstatement.com. It's a game changer of magnitude. But like, who or what am I fighting for or against? And if I didn't fight it for or against, it would give me all of me. Let me see if I can give you some more examples of where this rightness thing shows up. So here's another just fun fact. When your point of view, whatever that is, creates your reality. So just this morning I had another conversation with a friend, and he's got a little daughter, and he had a sort of a hard morning with her this morning. She was not very happy about going to school, and he took it really personally and got really hard on himself. And one of the things that he said, and his sharing of it with me, was like, well, nobody ever said that raising a child would be easy. So this is a really good example of a basic point of view. Nobody said that raising a child would be easy. It's a common point of view. You've heard a lot of people say it. A lot of people are functioning from it. Of course, this is going to be hard, right? Like, that's just, we say that like it's a fact. Nobody ever said raising a child would be easy. Well, here's the thing about taking a point of view, any point of view. Let's take that one. As soon as you take that as a point of view, it's a fixed point, you then have to prove it right. As soon as you take it as a fixed point of view, you have to prove it correct. That's it. So now there's no flexibility in his world around this particular topic in any direction. He's just accepted that raising a child is going to be hard. But now he's got to prove that it's hard. And this is the bitchy thing and shitty thing about taking a point of view, is that the moment you take it, not only does it create your reality, but then you have to use all your effort to prove it correct. Why? Because you can't be wrong. This is the thing about points of view. It's like when you're not being interesting point of view, where everything's just interesting. Like if he was willing to use the tools on this, he could look at that and go, well, that's really just an interesting point of view. I wonder what it would be like if raising a child was easy. Hi, Claudia. He could ask that question. I was never taught to ask those questions. I got that from Access Consciousness, but that could be a malleable point in his world, possibly. It would be for me. But in his world right now, it's not. It's a fixed point. So now he's got to prove, hi Katarina, that point of view is correct. So now everything that he does now will prove that raising a child is hard, until or if he ever changes that point of view. Now how does that, so that's the fight that never ends. You have to fight to maintain the rightness of your point of view, right? This is where it gets really, really insane. And so then in that particular scenario, there would be really nothing I could say because he's not asking a question, right? Like I can't actually say, hey, I wonder if that's actually true, because then I would be fighting his point of view instead of being just interesting point of view with his point of view. By the way, interesting point of view is one of the 10 keys to total freedom, right? You see where I'm going with this? All of this rightness is solved by actually living and applying the 10 keys to total freedom. Okay, so let's take another example, like with money, all right? So one of the points of view that I've had about money for a really long time is that income in December is always lower in my business. Now, I have yet to change this point of view. Why? Because I created it again this month. But this year, I just played with something different. I played with played with something different. But that point of view has literally created my Decembers over the last 3 years. Now, I could choose a different point of view that says, or even a question that's like, well, what would it take for December to be one of the most lucrative months of the year? It is for a lot of other, businesses and people. So, and I haven't made that choice yet. So, but if I'm not willing to take that point of view and play with it, then that becomes a fixed point, and now I have to prove it correct. So now then every December, if I don't change that point of view, then I have to make sure that the sales do not exceed a certain amount, because I've already decided that December is going to be lower than other months. So, I mean, you see how this can extrapolate over into like everything. So now I have to fight to prove that December is low. Like, it's crazy. And those are just like 3 tiny little examples. So my first question for you is like, how many places are you allowing rightness to rule your life? And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and create it all. Right, wrong, goodbye, pot, buck, all night, shorts, boys, men. Literally, guys, this is so insidious that like the only thing I know to do is to run a clearing like what jails am I using to create the dominance of E equals MC squared as always having to be all right or all wrong as the only choice in life and living that keeps me from choosing a totally different reality with no conclusions than anyone else can have. Because like, how many places are you fighting to be right? And how many places are you fighting to not be wrong? And again, like that right there is like this reality. That's how we're taught to be in this reality. Make the right choices and don't make the wrong choices. But then what does that eliminate? You and your creative ability. So like, let's take my example with Andres the other day when I got really snarky with him. If I had needed to continue to be right in my point of view about what he was being that I was reacting to, what would that have created? We'd still be fighting probably, because I need to be right. I need him to apologize. I need him to stop doing that. I need him to do all kinds of different things. He's not going to do those different things. That path, I've done that path before, is this sure, certain destruction. If on the other hand, I can't be wrong. So let's just say I've reacted, I've done this thing and I can't be wrong. Then I can't apologize and we're still going to have a problem. And again, destruction. The only choices that there's actually very few choices that create in that scenario. And most of them have to do with being willing to lower my barriers and just go, that's not actually what I wanted to create and I'm sorry. Here's what happened for me and what else can we do now? Like, you know. So is there anywhere in your life that you're letting the need to be right about how hard things should be, about how bad things are, or about how right things are, about how good things are, any of that? Is there anywhere you're letting your need to be right rob you of a greater future? Yes or no? And if it's yes, everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy it and create it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pot, all name shorts, boys and beyonds. So literally, like, what would it be like if you didn't have to fight anything? So there's that facet. Let's move into a different facet of this just for a second, because I also like to talk about both sides of this, because sometimes I'm in a place where a question like that is like, yeah, what would it take to not fight anymore? Great, I'm ready to surrender. There's other times where I'm like, fuck you. There's other times where I want to fight that surrender, right? And that is actually, that's funny that I brought up that word surrender, because that's actually what's been happening is I've just been surrendering to things now instead of fighting them. Like, instead of needing to like be the stronger, whatever that fight thing is that I've done my whole life, right? I've just been starting to surrender, going, okay, if I were willing to surrender here, what would that be like? If I were willing to surrender to this reality, what would that be like? If I were willing to surrender to my choice, if I were willing to surrender, that's been a question I've been using a lot. But there are these other times where I'm like, not even at the space to surrender. Like, I like to fight, I want to fight, I'm enjoying fighting, blah, blah, blah. And that is also valuable to just like go, yeah, I just want to be right here. Or yeah, I'm just going to fight here. Or yeah, like I like fighting. It's what I know, you know, blah, blah, blah. Because that is also allowance. And the thing that I am going to keep preaching about to the friggin' day that I die is that the only time change is available is when you're willing to be an allowance of you. That's it. So it doesn't really matter how you get to allowance. Allowance of the fact that you're fighting, allowance of the fact that you're not fighting, that you're going to surrender, allowance for you just as you are. Somebody was saying in my awareness challenge group the other day, she's like, I think I'm going to butcher this a little bit, but she was like, how do I manipulate myself into changing something that I don't want to change, but I'd really like to change? And I said, well, what would it take to manipulate yourself into having allowance for you just as you are? And the thing that rightness does, the thing that fight does, is it eliminates intimacy with you. So if we go back to my example with Andres the other night, if I had insisted on fighting for the rightness of my point of view, that he does this thing and it has this effect on me and he needs to stop it, and I'm having barriers and boundaries. I've got boundaries and you don't roll over my boundaries. I've done a lot of that before. Like, one, would it have created anything? And I sort of lost my train of thought. We were talking about something that I just lost. Would it have created anything? And you know, it's in all of my live classes that I get all kinds of questions in my classes, right? I'm doing a lot of live classes right now. And what it all comes down to with anything is, what do I want to create here? What do I want to create with this person in front of me? What do I want to create with my business? One of the things that's going on in my business right now is that for about the last 3 to 4 years, or whatever, I've been doing and creating the landing pages. So if you guys sign up for a call and it's got a big long page, that's usually me that's put that together, and Shayna helps me with the graphics. So hi Alexandra, we've had one particular way of doing these landing pages. Hi Rashma. But what's happening now is I'm adding so many live classes and so much travel, and there's so many other facets getting developed in my business that I don't have the time to sit in front of the computer that I used to develop these pages. So I have a lot of really capable people on my team. And yet I have never asked them to step up into the thing that I've been really good at, that I haven't been willing to let go control of, which is mostly the word part of it, right? The writing, the copy, as they call it. And so we are, as a team right now, exploring, how do we create this business? How do we create these invitations for you guys in a totally different way? Because we can't keep doing it in the same way. And so it's really, that whole choice is facilitating all of us, right? As you can imagine, because there's people that are, being put into that role of creating the pages that are like, I don't know how to do this, or they're getting confronted with where they feel limited, or they can't, or they don't know, or, all of us are getting confronted with where we want to be all right or all wrong. And personally, I'm like, is this actually going to work? Can I create myself as useless here? And if I can, how do I do that? And if you are, the thing that I'm finding is, if I stay committed to these pages having to be a certain way, they have to be this way, and I need them to sound like this, and they have to be along these lines. If I stay committed to that, I can't actually receive from any other possible way that this could show up. And that has been a thing for me for a really long time. Like, I'll get a way of doing something in my mind or in my world, and I'll start doing it that way. And then I get stuck on that way. And I'm like, well, this is the way. And that right there is form and structure and significance, which is rightness. And if you do that with things, you have to then be right, and you have to prove that you're right, and then no other way is even possible. And so to outcreate myself here in my business, I'm just I'm really asking the universe, show me all the possible ways of creating classes online and offline that I have never considered. Show me all the possible ways of landing pages or no landing pages that I haven't even considered. If I weren't doing any form, any structure, any significance here about any part of this process, what could we choose? What could we create? What's actually available here that I have never considered? And that right there is opening up so much space and so much possibility that still has no form. And so I don't know how this is going to go. And it's uncomfortable and exciting and, new, and all we see around is form planning and certain fixed ways of doing. Yeah. But everything that we talk about in Access Consciousness isn't just theory. They're not just good ideas. They're actually things that when you start to apply them in your life, change things, actually create more possibilities. If I had to stay committed to one way of doing things in my business with these landing pages, for example, and I have been very committed to this for years now, how much, let's get an awareness here. How much would I limit my business? A little bit or a lot? A lot. And so what is then creating from what works? Oh, that's where I was going with the last thing. Because the only relevant thing is, what do I want to create here, and what can I choose to have it? What do I want to create here? I want to create a business that creates consciousness. Okay, cool. What can I choose to have that? I've got this idea, I've got that idea, I've got that idea. In the past, I would have thought that was relevant, but is it relevant? What do I actually require here to have this reality? And in a relationship situation, what do I want to create with this person? With my example of Andres from the beginning, I want to create so much thriving, so much caring, so much happy. And if that requires me to be wrong, first of all, I wasn't correct. And second of all, whatever, not relevant. Second of all, not relevant. Second of all, what do I want to create with this man? I want to create a future. I want to create a thriving, kind, caring, actually kind, actual caring. Not the pretense of caring, not the look of caring, not the Instagram photo of caring, but actual caring for him and caring for me. And did what I chose create that? No. But can I change it? Yeah, because guess what? Another one of the 10 keys to total freedom. I have a new choice in every 10 seconds. So that was the choice I made in that 10 seconds. Now I can make a new choice. Listen, the world that you want to live in is created by the choices you make. If I want to create more consciousness and awareness in the world, and in my business I'm doing a bunch of conclusion and decisions, and I have to do this, and I can't change this, and I'm doing a lot of form and structure, am I actually instituting into the world as much consciousness as I could? No. So then what do I want to choose? If that's not creating what I'd like to create, what could I choose that would create what I'd like to create? Do I want my business just to be the appearance and the image of consciousness while secretly behind closed doors I do decisions and conclusions? Or do I actually want to function in my business the way that I am talking about in the world? Do I want to create a business that creates more consciousness in the world by functioning from consciousness? Consciousness includes everything, but to create more consciousness, it's getting out of form and structure. It's being interesting point of view. It's choosing again in every 10 seconds. It's would an infinite being truly choose this? No. Okay, why would I? Never mind. Right? Like it's not judging, not excluding other possibilities and just deciding that this is the only way. And so obviously the practice of all of that is a lifelong practice, right? It gets easier. You start becoming these things. But if you are always fighting for the rightness of your point of view, you never have any of those choices available. So I want to make sure that I reiterate the clearing that I threw in the middle of this somewhere, which is like, who or what am I fighting for or against that if I wouldn't fight for or against it would give me all of me? And I really want to encourage you to like take those 10 keys to total freedom and like write them down and stick them on your computer somewhere and go, okay, well, if I wasn't doing form, structure, and significance with this, if I wasn't doing judgment of any kind, if I, if I wasn't excluding other possibilities, if I wasn't excluding me and what truly works for me, like, what could I choose here? What do I actually want to create? Do I want to make choices that create greater futures? Okay. So what tool would I have to implement that would empower me to know which of my choices created greater futures? Or do I just want to choose willy-nilly and be unconscious and like get into the story and get into the why I can't and get into all the impossibilities, which I'm very good at, have been very good at? What do I want to create here? And what tools can I use to really support myself in the creation of that? So rightness is everywhere. It's not something that you can ferret out before you go start to create. Start to create and you'll find where you're trying to be right. I get that a lot in my classes. Well, shit, where do I start with all this stuff? Well, start creating. What do you want to have first? What's the first order of business, right? Like, what's your first thing? You want to start creating money for classes? Okay, cool. What can you choose to have money for classes? And start with that. And as you create, where you're trying to be right will show up. God, I'm trying to be right so bad about how I can't do this. I'm trying to be right so badly about how hard this is. I want it to be hard so bad I could like stab somebody. Right? Like, I need this to be true so bad. Okay, cool. If I didn't need this to be true, what else would be possible would be a great next question. But the key is to begin creating. What do you want to have as your relationship reality with the person you're with the people you already have, and beyond? Are you choosing things that support what you want to have, or are you choosing against yourself? If you didn't have to be right, fuck it. What tools could you implement to support what you'd really like to create? Okay? So man, your tool, like your books, read the 10 Keys to Total Freedom, study that thing like your life depends on it, because it does. You can find it at ChrystelJoyCrawford.com/myfavorites. Divorceless relationships for relationships. Just amazing. Again, same link. Salon de Femme, if you really want to study a resource like to get you into something different as a woman and you want to understand women, go read that. Again, CrystalJoyCrawford.com/my-favorite-things. And that clearing of who or what am I fighting for or against it, if I didn't have to fight for or against it, would give me all of me. And come play in the awareness challenge. If you would really like to have more awareness and more consciousness, not just awakeness, but true consciousness, which is more total choice, then you can come play with us there. I'm so grateful for you. If you love this, please share it with your friends, and otherwise I will see you guys next week.